Simon, we know that players talk to each other, don't they? They wind each other up in the field of play. And we know that Kyle Walker has come in for some front page newspaper coverage that he could well have done without in recent days. And I'm not going to go into that, but you get a rough idea of what it involves. And Kyle knows what he's got into. And,
it's his private business.
It's his private business. And if I remember, the headline in the newspaper the other day was, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what has happened here. But there last night in the match at Brentford, it appears that Neal Maupay got involved with Kyle Walker in a little to and fro, if you like, a little verbal to and fro, whereby it is reckoned that Maupay might have touched on some of the recent coverage that Walker has had. It's reckoned. I'm not saying that for a fact, but it's reckoned that that's what it was about. And Walker was seen having to be calmed down by Pep Guardiola as an exchange unfolded. And then, curiously, Maupay was substituted in stoppage time by Thomas Frank. Danny Murphy was working in the game last night. He was in co-commentary. And he got into what maybe is acceptable and what isn't acceptable in the field of play.
I think it's really simple for me. Unless it's something that, goes over the line of, we're talking hate crimes here and really horrendous stuff that we shouldn't hear anywhere, never mind on a football pitch. Some things you don't need to be telling the linesman, the referee, if he's had a little dig about a story in the paper about your personal life. That's just it just happens. That's the way football is. Not everyone's best friends. You're trying to win. If you're going to do things away from the pitch, they're going to get brought up on it. That's life. Take it on the chin. Don't be running to the linesman or running to the ref. I love Kyle Walker, by the way. I'm not
even in this modern world where we take care of each other. Do you think that that's still okay? It's going to happen.
I'm all for it.
Yeah,
because I don't want to live in a world where the competitiveness is beaten out of us.
Well, I mean, more importantly, what do you think of what Danny is saying there?
I think he's right. I mean, I think it's unpalatable, but it's the reality of the circumstances. The footballers have been doing that for years. They've been saying it to one another for years. Cricket does it. It's called sledging. It's part and parcel of it. It's incumbent upon Kyle Walker to rise above it and not be affected by it. Because if he's affected by it, then he's been affected by the very thing that he shouldn't be, which is the opposition.
Is it fair game?
I wouldn't do it if I was involved in that sort of space. I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it.
No, because I just think I think you beat people with talent. You don't beat them by getting them off their game. But it's gamesmanship. Well, it's no different from people cheating. I mean, Maupay is a bit of a wind-up merchant. He was a bit of a big-time Charlie, I think, at Brighton. Had a few problems with him there. It goes up to Everton. He's about as useful as a one-legged man in a backside kicking competition because he can't score any goals. And he's gone back to Brentford and he's creating a little bit of mischief around the place. And if he's got under Kyle Walker is an infinitely better player than Neal Maupay will ever be. Right? Different positions, but notwithstanding that. I saw the observations last week about Kyle Walker and the obligations upon him to be a role model. He's not a role model, he's just a footballer. And his private life is his own. And if he wants to go in the newspapers, maybe because they had more on him, so he did a story to get the rest of it out of the way, then that was up to him. But players using it and Kyle Walker responding to it, he's playing for the best team in world football. His private life is he's got to own his own mistakes.
He's one of the best in world football.
He's one of the best fullbacks in world football. He's an outstanding player. He's an outstanding England player. He's on a different level to Neal Maupay. The only way that players like Maupay can get anything on people like Kyle Walker is get into their head. And so he's given it to him.
Yeah.
And this idea that in this society where we all got to look after one another, I mean, cobblers, this is a football match, we're not going, this is not Village Bowling Green. And I think that Kyle allows himself to be affected by that. That's on him.
Okay, I mean, as I said, it seemed like Pep, he kind of get involved in it a little bit as well. Maupay was substituted, as I said, by Thomas Frank. But then post-match, Pep really didn't want to know.
Kyle Walker seemed to...
Nothing. Next question.
Nothing at all?
No.
Is it being looked at by the officials?
I said next question. I'll talk about that.
Yeah, I make him right. It's trivial. I mean, it is a bit trivial, isn't it? It's a bit small-minded. And it's someone in the media pulling at a ball or wall. I mean, Maupay was doing it, what was he doing the other week to a player that got a little bit irritated with him and they had something to say to him in terms of celebration, James Maddison.
Oh, yeah, the Maddison situation.
So
he
with the
darts celebration.
That's his stock in trade. I think it's beneath. I do genuinely think it's beneath Pep Guardiola to answer that question, and I think he handled it in exactly the right way. No, next question.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember, was it Maupay and Guendouzi? Was it down at Brighton when Brighton played Arsenal? And
Guendouzi was the one that got all about how much people earn, right?
Right. I think Maupay bit on that
worked
one.
out for him,
Yeah. So, I mean, these things can happen. Pep, you think, handled it well? Yeah? Just by brushing it aside? Nothing to see here?
Well, there's nothing to be seen here. Footballers say things to one another. I mean, I remember Jason McAteer standing in front of Roy Keane going, write it in your book, sort of attitude. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
when he was doing
it.
that on the pitch? They've done it to one another for forever and a day.
Yeah.
And the fact that Carl's feeling a bit sensitive about it, and maybe he crossed the line. Maybe he did cross the line. But he doesn't need to go and get the linesman. There was an age-old scenario, I'm not advocating for this, that he deals with him in the tunnel. Then see how much Maupay's got to say for himself, because he probably would have legged it into the dressing room.
Well, that's how it used to get sorted, wasn't it? I remember Di Canio get involved with Ian Ferguson of Rangers a long time ago, or it might have been vice versa. And then there was talk of a tunnel meeting, but one eventually didn't show up for the other. I mean, but that also is no way to sort anything.
Carl's got to just get over it, and I do think that the idea that the manager needs to deal with it in a press conference afterwards is low rent. I understand why the question's asked, because that's where some sections of the media think it's interesting. We just watched the champions win a game 3-1, but let's have a word about two people saying things to one another. I don't know what to say about that, but Pep dealt with it, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, not everything should be fair game on the field of play, but when it gets to that, when you consider the situation as well last night, presumably Maupay, who put his goal away well, his side is losing, and they're losing to Manchester City. Maybe concentrate on that more than having a little snipe, if indeed that is what happened. We don't know. It's between them. But
it's up to Carl to get over it. It's up to Carl. Too many people in this world that things that are said by an irrelevance. Neal Maupay is an irrelevance, and he's only relevant if you make him relevant in your world.
But in this modern world, as Adrian Durham said, in this modern world,
what modern world? The world that he lives in. Really, no, thank you. The world that we live in should have fortitude and resilience and be able to overcome adversity, rather than some of the drivel that comes out of Adrian's mouth at times. The point is that Carl Walker should have been able to contend with it. He should have been bigger and better. And I know probably Maupay said something that might have been really offensive, but so what? You know, too many people react to what people are saying to them, and these people that are saying to them are irrelevant. People walking down the street going, he called me a rude name, so it affected my mental well-being. No, it didn't. You affected your mental well-being by not being prepared to ignore it.
These things can get perpetuated, though. Look at Kurt Zouma. He still goes away probably to almost every single ground.
Kicking cats.
And they bring up the cat kicking incident. I mean, it doesn't go away. This might not go away, but who needs it?
But also, there is an element in society. You have to own your own decisions, and you have to take the consequences of them, and you have to have the ramifications of it. If you want to go around kicking cats, then people are going to call you a cat kicker, and that's how you get on in the world, right? So don't kick cats, the moral of the story is. If you don't want people to make fun of your private life, then don't go slinging it around and then selling stories to the newspaper to manage other problems that might be coming down the pike. I don't know. We all got to live with the consequences. I walk around with people saying to me, you failed football club owner, every time I open my mouth about Manchester City or something of that nature. We've all got to live with the things that we've done in the past, true or unfair. And I think too many people want to pass on their own behaviour. Carl, you did that. Is it fair? Is it representative? Football is tribalist. Football has an attitude. Football isn't kind. It's not meant to be kind.
No.
It's not meant to be, this is a gentleman's game. That's not the way to do it. It's never been like that.
Yeah.
Never, ever been like that. So why should it be like that now?
I think basically 2 words, shut up. Whenever anyone has a pop at you, then, it's their problem, not yours.
Well, silence, completely ignoring someone and disarming someone by giving them no feedback whatsoever is even more powerful, because that takes an immense amount of discipline. If someone says something to you that really offends you and you don't even give them the feeling that you've even heard it or acknowledged it, they become even less relevant than they were before they said it, because they only said it to get at you.
Sorry, what was that you said, Simon? We're coming up to 10:30.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.